So the Urban League of Greater Madison, most of you know, has been around for a very long time. Initially, the Urban League movement was started in 1910 as people were trying to move away from the Jim Crow South into the urban cities, trying to find jobs and trying to find opportunities. We specialized in education, jobs, housing, workforce development, entrepreneurship, and there's actually 92 affiliates across the nation. Here in South Madison, we've been here for over 50 years. We were founded here in 1968. And we right now, are at a time where the Urban League is needed more than ever because we actually have gentrification going on across South Madison. And, we have been trying to get ahead of the gentrification. I often say that development is growing a lot faster than actually the ability for the city to plan. And so if we look at, across the nation, we'll see that there is, okay, you got it up, Jason? Perfect. All right, so if you can go 2 slides down. One more, right there, this is where I am. So there is a crisis in America, and African American home ownership is at 46%, where it is for whites in general about 76%. Here in the state of Wisconsin, home ownership is about 26%. We're the 3rd in the nation. Dane County has a bigger problem because in Dane County, we have African American home ownership at 10%. So we have a problem that we really need to try to get our hands around. Many of you know that the Urban League in the end of last year, we got a new market tax, $5 million new market tax credit to try to fight this gentrification and get houses in South Madison before they were taken up. We bought 16 homes, and with those 16 homes, we've been able to almost get 10 of them rehabilitated and maybe 4 families in those homes. But by the end of the year, we expect to have rehabilitated homes and new families in those homes. And people are getting priced out of South Madison. For example, one of the highest priced homes that we bought in South Madison was for about $245,000. A few weeks later, I went because the property owner said they had some property ready to go. A property that was probably in worse condition was like $290,000. And she told me if we didn't act then, there was 30 people in line to get houses. So we got problems in South Madison. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. All right. So during just a little bit about more about the Urban League during the pandemic, we all been hit pretty hard, and we've had to do some extraordinary things because the community still expected us to be open and going, and so we did. Next slide. So here's some of the things that we worked on, during this COVID period. GE was one of the first companies that reached out and said that they needed help making the ventilators. So we started this workforce relief and recovery initiative. The Rinnebaum Foundation kind of helped us get this project going. And so we were able to connect companies with employees. And now we have over 120 companies that we are working with to match people to. Many of these have led to jobs during the pandemic. A lot of folks were afraid to go to jobs, but we were helping to get that done. The other thing that we did was the virtual support, for youth. We found out that internet wasn't the only problem that youth had, but we also saw that families needed instructional support. They needed help with math. They needed help with literacy, and they needed to be engaged. And so we did programs there. Jason, next slide, please. And so one of the other things that we continue to do at the Urban League is social justice. There's a lot of activity going on. We had an election. We got out. We helped with getting people registered to vote. We are doing COVID vaccine clinics, and there were a lot of Black Lives Matter things going on that we work with as well. But really just want to give you some context of our work and how we continue to work during COVID. Jason. Okay, now I've talked about the housing, and now we're going to get into the Black Business Hub. When we look at South Madison and we look at how the development is happening on the north side, coming up, it looks similar to what we saw on Capitol East. And we suspect that, development again is outpacing planning, and African-American voices were on the sideline looking in. And so we decided that we need to be a voice and that we need to focus on bringing Black businesses forward to give them the ability to participate in this economy. And so many of the Black leaders started thinking about, what we can do. Next slide, Jason. We got our inspiration from looking at this Sherman Phoenix project in Milwaukee. In Milwaukee, there was a BMO Harris building that was burnt during some protest, but the community decided to come back together and to build a space that would be vibrant, that would give small businesses a chance to develop. And it's just a great space. Right now in this Sherman Phoenix, they have a waiting list of 5 years to get businesses in this space. Even during COVID, they're striving, and they decided to have like drive-through and delivery like other businesses, but they're striving. We want this type of facility to be in Madison, a place that will be a destination right at the southernmost gateway of Madison. Next slide, please. So we're looking to put together a facility or a place that would serve as an economic anchor that would draw social and economic resources to the area, but work with businesses all along the business development cycle, startup businesses, existing businesses, businesses that want to scale up, but yet, enhance the South Madison community and serve the greater Dane County region. Next slide, please. And again, we talked about the Sherman Phoenix, and I can remember the first time going into the Sherman Phoenix and how emotional I felt to really see the community and the city and everybody getting behind those residents and allow them to do something special. And it's just been an inspiration. Next slide, please. Now, so when we announced that we had an interest in putting together a hub, many folks in the community came and said, "We got you. We want to support you on this." We had 2 anchor tenants, government agencies say, that would be a cool space. We didn't reach out to them. They reached out to us, and I can't say who they are, but they said, "We like to be long-term tenants in this space. If we can bring them in as long-term tenants in this space, we can give lower rents to the businesses if they pay market rents." And they're interested in being in the space for 15 or 20 years or longer. And that's a great thing. Joe Parisi saw what we were doing. He gave us $100,000 in planning funds. And then he gave us $2 million in acquisition funds. He said, "I believe in you. I believe in the Urban League, and I believe that we need to do this." The CDA, has the property. We've decided to be, on Park Street, right on Park and Hughes, and we're working with them to get the property. American Family came to us and said, "We like this. Here's $400,000 to provide loans and grants to those businesses. Let's make this happen." Jan O'Neill, a citizen, she came up and she said, "I like this idea, and we need to be supporting this." She said, my family left me an inheritance, and I want to take $50,000 of that and see, an opportunity to grow some more resources. And she says, "I want to raise $250,000. Well, so far she's raised $190,000. And so if any of you, are interested in making a contribution to a fund for these businesses, please, contact me afterwards. The Select Family Foundation a couple of weeks ago offered up $200,000 to help the businesses. And so we almost have over $1 million already to help these businesses. We've been saying that when you build a facility like this, you've got to have grants and loans and resources to help these businesses develop. We want to have supportive services, just a lot of other things so that these businesses have an opportunity to flourish. There'll be different types of retail businesses there, consultants, and we'll talk more about that. Next slide, please. So that, again, the core mission is to put together this entrepreneur type of ecosystem that will promote the development of BIPOC businesses. And I've been saying that if the Urban League can't bet, on Black businesses and BIPOC businesses, then who will? It's a risky proposition, and my board members, think that we're on the bleeding edge here. One of my board members says one mistake and this thing can go off the rails, and I said, I know that, but if I can't bet on Black businesses, the Urban League can't bet on Black businesses, then who can? I think that if we can't bet on South Madison and bet on turning around that corridor and having a vision that brings everybody in, then who will? And so we, again, will expect to offer, capital programs to help these companies build out. We'll provide technical assistance, including financial literacy. WIBIC wants to move into the facility, and so they'll provide, training, and we have other resources that'll be at this place. This will be a place that will be a destination. When people come to Madison, they're gonna want to see this place because some of the restaurants in there, it might be like a soul food, place where people can go after church, and bring that money and keep that money into the community. There'll be shared services like HR, technology. There'll be a network of entrepreneurs. And so even if you don't have a space in the hub, the hub will welcome those businesses that are working at home or working at Starbucks and those types of things. So we expect that it will be an intergenerational investment, not just an investment for now, but an investment for the future that will bring jobs and that will bring opportunities right here. Let's move to the next slide. So when we launched the project, members from all across the community came and said, this is a great idea. We had both alders. We had Alder Evers and Alder Carter. We had the CDA chair, Clark Gilmore, the mayor, and Camille Carter from the Black Chamber. And all of these folks came together to say, let's make this happen. South Madison is an interesting place. Sometimes there's an underinvestment in South Madison. But I think that Jack Daniels got this thing going about this whole causing a renaissance in South Madison. Jack put Madison College in South Madison, and I said during his presentation that Jack is running towards the fire. He sees that there's a lot of need over there, and I think this is going to cause an economic multiplier effect, and I believe it will. I believe that what we're going to do, what the Center for Black Excellence is going to do with the Nehemiah Foundation, what the Mount Zion Family Life Center is going to do, what Brandon Roll's project with Luna Grocery Store is going to do, what One City is doing, we have an opportunity for BIPOC leaders to be a part of creating a vision in Madison. We always get asked, like, how can we help, change the downtown? How can we help other areas? And we want to do that too. But listen to the vision. If you want a vision, we're laying out vision saying that we know how we can transform this to help bring jobs and to bring business opportunities and to kind of make this sleepy corridor a vibrant economic development corridor. Next slide, please. So here's the actual diagram or schematic for the Village on Park. And you can see on the bottom right, that's where Access Community Health is. And you see the Urban League and towards the center and the Goodman Library. At the bottom left, this is where the hub will be. It's right on the corner of Hughes, close to McDonald's over there. And it'll be a 60,000 square foot facility, 3 floors with creative space. Trinorth is going to be the general contractor here. And the parking structure will be next to the Asian grocery store here at the top of your screen. And this is the thing that we're going through the city council about, talking about how to do it right so that it's green and that there's no more space than necessary. In the top right, there'll be affordable housing down the road, but in the meantime, there'll be some temporary parking, to help accommodate staging and everything during construction. Next slide, please. All right, so here's some of the particulars about the site. It'll be, you know, a little bit over 60,000 square feet. Again, we've got a couple of government anchors. We're expecting them to do long-term leases. We are seeking additional anchors, whether it's a financial institution or someone that wants to be in a cool space. You know, this is the spot. For retail, on the ground floor, we're expecting to have about 21,000 square feet. There'll be retail, there'll be food, there'll be spas, barbers, beauty shops, and just a lot of creative spaces. There'll be co-working spaces for office rental, office hoteling. There'll be some event space, and there'll be lots of entrepreneurial support. There'll be lobby space where it'll be cool space. We hope to have like space for youth where they'll come in if they need like internet cafe. Lots of times we find right now that there are youth that are hanging out in the Urban League lobby just to get Wi-Fi. So we'll have Wi-Fi cafes and internet cafes and things that way. So next slide, please. So again, you know, our uses are about 19 million, our sources about 19 million. So this is a new market tax credit deal, you know, where we've done it before. We did it with our housing. We're a part of 5 potential considerations for allocation. And so we're pretty comfortable that we'll get, you know, one of these allocations. Many folks are saying that they like this project. A lot of banks, you know, are saying that BIPOC business development, African-American business development, economic development is what they want to do right now. It's the sweet spot. All right, Jason? I'm about to wrap it up. And so this is the new market tax structure for if there are new market tax credit geeks in the audience. Again, you know how this whole thing works, and I won't go through that, but we expect to be the developer, and we're looking for folks to buy tax credits. We're looking for folks to still make capital contributions and others. So next slide. But, you know, how can you get involved? As I mentioned, you know, we've got to raise about $3.5 million. We have the Black Accelerator Fund, you know, where we're raising money for. We could use pre-construction assistance. We need to give to the hub businesses. So if the businesses will need to do build out, we need financing partners for the new market tax credit and low cost debt. And then we need people to locate in the hub, and we just need your support in general to say that this is the right thing, not just for South Madison, but for Dane County in general. Jason, thank you so much for saving my life this morning, because my computer capacity locked up on me and I couldn't bring up, couldn't get that PowerPoint to play. And so I should have went into the office so that I would have that capacity. But anyway, I'll stop there and take questions. And thank you for your indulgence this morning, and I hope that you've got a sense of what we're trying to do. We believe in South Madison that we can cause this renaissance to happen, and there's Black leaders, you know, Vanessa McDowell and Alex G, Kareem Kerr, and many of us, you know, but we want to help design what South Madison becomes. I'll stop there.
Wow, Dr. Anthony, amazing. We are so thankful for the excellent presentation and the incredible work that you continue to do throughout our entire community, and in particular in South Madison. This really is an inspirational and game changer project, and we believe in you, Dr. Anthony, like you believe in us. So we are very lucky, and we are here to help with any tech you need. I also just wanted to say, I do think we have a lot of new market tax credit geeks in our midst. That's kind of our specialty. So we'd love to open it up for questions for Dr. Anthony. If you have a question, you can either raise your hand through the raise hand function on the reactions part, or I can only see about half of you. You can literally raise your hand or send your questions in through the chat. So who has questions for Dr. Anthony? Well, while you're coming up with it, I'll start off with a question. Obviously, we know that you know, the city council, you had some long conversations with it. How is it going with the city council and the parking that you guys need to make this project happen?
Yeah, so it's only one guy on the city council who will remain nameless. No, it's Alder Foster. You know, really, and he's really, just being diligent about making sure that the project is sustainable, and that we don't have more parking out there than necessary. And and to some extent, he's been disingenuous about how he's defined whether we really need parking out there. He says, I rode my bike over to the site, a few days ago, and the parking lot was empty. And I said, well, yeah, of course, 75%, of the program staff, at the Urban League and other places are not there. If you go downtown, you'll see the same thing, of course. But typically, the people in the Village on the Mall, example, for Ken Loving from Access, he says people are late to appointments, doctor appointments, and they miss doctor appointments because they're driving around the parking lot. They can't find parking. The same thing with Wibbick. They say they offer classes with 50 to 60 people. When they offer those classes, it's hard to find parking. And in South Madison, a lot of the houses sometimes don't have garages, or and they have to park on the street. And so having to take parking away from residents is a problem. And then again, we have an anchor tenant that if we can't provide them parking, this deal won't work. And so we have to have parking there, but we have to do it in a responsible way. We all know that sustainability is a real thing. The other thing that he put out, he says, we got the BRT coming. And I'm like, yeah, but the BRT is not here yet, and so we do have to build it in a way to accommodate the BRT and to accommodate bikes. And we hope, not hope, we will have inside the building a place where you can store bikes. We hope to have a locker room and all that as well.
Excellent. Next question here. What's the timeline for the project?
You are asking me some tough questions. You want all my secrets.
I'm trying.
So when we, before we went before the city council, let me go on the record saying that, we were thinking that this project would be spring of 2022. We still wanted in spring of 20, we still would like to have it in 2022. But as I mentioned to you earlier, one of the amendments that they made at the city council is going to slow the project down for 4 to 6 weeks. And so I'm like, you may not need to kill this project, by being diligent, but you might. One of the alders, Christian Abor, said that, people are trying so hard to get to heaven that they're not doing any earthly good, and so, and I said, I can understand, that we want to do good, by the environment, but I said, please don't put economic development and equity against sustainability, because it's just, we should be fighting together. So anyway.
Thank you.
Show this video to some of those alders.
Yeah, well, perfect. Honestly, we want that we had a chat with Ann before about how we can help moving forward. A note from Tim Casper that he said, our good friend and board member here, and your fellow board member, Madison College is pleased to support and partner with the Urban League on this exciting project and any efforts. I mean, you mentioned it. How important is it that the Madison Goodman South Campus is there, but all of these projects are happening kind of near in the same time frame? I mean, how important is that for your project?
It's really important because, again, what we're doing right now is, and Madison College led the way, so thanks, Tim. Madison College kind of helped us begin to build a southern gateway into the city. Before there was no real definition. It was like just dumping off into the city. But now we're coloring in and building an identity for the southernmost gateway into the city. And so, having Alex G's project on the Hill, having our project, and really building up the southernmost part of South Park Street, which is the southern gateway into the city, is just a wonderful thing to do. I look forward to the days that, we have these cool spaces and the kids from Madison College will be walking over and studying in some of these spaces and eating in some of the restaurants and starting, moving from some of those business classes and starting out some businesses, here in the hub. So I think that the intersectionality between Madison College and us, and that continued partnership that we have is going to be essential for this to work.
Awesome. Question from our friends at Smart Growth. How long will it take before the TIF for the parking structure comes back to the Common Council? Do you know rough date when it's going to come back to the council?
I think I'm not sure of the date. It may be June, it may be June 18th. That seems to stand in my mind, but I'll send you that back. It won't be long because the city has to go and do some parking studies and some diligence, and then to bring it back. You know, the city did, and I know there's more questions, but so I won't pontificate too much longer. But the city did some air photography and they aerial photography, and they showed like the utilization of parking on a Sunday and a Wednesday, and they did a comparative analysis between like downtown parking lots, campus parking lot, and other parking lots. And on Sunday, the day that they did that, there were 78% utilization of the parking space, and in other places downtown, it was equal or less. So for the alder to make the case that we're trying to overbuild, I asked them the question. I said, why all of a sudden, when we're trying to do something for Black people or we're trying to do something for South Madison, you're starting to bring this up. Where were you when the city built 7,000 parking stalls over the last few years? Where were you when the city spent $100 million out of the TIF? But now that it's a Black project and it's in South Madison, it's a problem. Something wrong with that. That don't smell right.
Well, I certainly statement completely. I think next, good. We got lots of good questions coming. Doug, I'm getting to you. I promise. I'm doing them in order. Dr. Anthony, my firm, Boardman Clark, has always been a long supporter of the Madison community. Is it possible to get a copy of the slide deck so they can help present it to other partners?
Sure, you can send it to everybody. Jason has it now.
Now I have it. Now I have it. I have it. All right, next up, Doug, I promise I did not forget about you. Our most recent past chair of our board of directors, Doug Poland. Good morning, Doug. How are you?
Hey, Doug.
Well, good morning. And I apologize for background noise or heavy breathing, but I'm walking from my apartment at 727, just a little plug there for ULI. It's a great apartment, to my office downtown. And Dr. Anthony, I wanted to go back on an issue you were just talking about, and that's transportation. I think that one of the great benefits of the South Park Street corridor, as you mentioned before, is that it is a corridor. It's a destination, but it's also a corridor, and it is a gateway. And I can think of nothing better than to be working downtown in my office and to be able to jump on a bus or something else and be able to be down at one of the businesses or restaurants or something on South that's going to go up in South Park Street. Are there plans that are incorporated within what you're all proposing to do that would anticipate that transit connection or transportation connection between downtown and South Park Street or the University and South Park Street where you're going to be? Thanks.
Yeah, so we have, the only thing that we've talked about is the BRT, making sure that we do it in a way that it doesn't impede the development of BRT. And I've been very explicit to say, I support the BRT. I think the BRT is going to be a game changer for running it down South Park, but it's not the only thing that we need to do. We need to do these other things as well. And so when it comes time to, advocate, for the BRT and making the connections between downtown and other places in the city to this site, I'm going to be the first one out there, pushing. Because one of the challenges that we have in this region is that we have a spatial mismatch. And you know that all too well, Doug, where the jobs are in one place and then folks that are transit dependent can't get to those jobs. The jobs are in one place and those folks that don't have automobile, they can't get to them or they can't walk to the jobs. And I say from a sustainability standpoint, you ought to support this project because there's going to be affordable housing and those people are going to be able to walk from their apartments right across the parking lot to 100+ jobs, right? How much more sustainability can you get? You don't have to ride your bike, you don't have to ride the BRT, but you can walk. But yet also we need those walkable jobs right there in South Park Street so that, people can't get to Middleton, they can't get to Sun Prairie because of the spatial mismatch, but the jobs are in the community. They need to be able to walk to those. And so, yeah, we've talked about making the transportation connections and stuff like that. But if you can walk to a job and not have to use your car because it's in your community, boy, that's a positive.
Time for more questions. Anyone has a question, send them in through the chat. I can either ask them or raise your hand with the raise hand function in the reactions. We're through the queue right now, but we'll give it a few more minutes here. Question that I actually have is about the Sherman Phoenix project and how much collaboration are you actually having with the folks that run the Sherman Phoenix project. I think, as you know, we've now launched a new event here between our friends in Milwaukee downtown and Madison downtown. But there's going to be so many more synergies between the two largest urban centers in Wisconsin. How much are you guys working directly with the team there?
Yeah, we're using them as much as we can. Prior to our project and coming up with the concept of what we came up with, we hosted African-American development classes. We were looking to do like a commercial real estate, development course for African-American developers, like the ACRE course that's offered at Marquette University and with Mark Epley, who was at Marquette, but now at the University of Wisconsin. And so we had a bunch of those conversations, and we brought up the folks from Sherman Phoenix to help lecture and to talk about, how they developed their project. And now we've had numerous conversations, even this week, with Sherman Phoenix, one of the planners, to talk about, how they've decided to bring restaurants and businesses into their hub, and what are some of the best practices they have used. And so we plan on continuing to have an ongoing dialogue with the Sherman Phoenix and other facilities across the nation. We talked to a facility in Texas who's doing this same type of project. And then I have another reference, like in Jackson, Mississippi. I watched the Jackson Mall over the last 30 plus years. When I first went there, it was a thriving place, and it had the same feel as the Sherman Phoenix. There are a lot of Black-owned businesses and just a whole lot of innovation of stuff. 5 years later, when I went to graduate school down there, that mall died. I'm like, what happened to this place? But then another 5 years later, it came back. And it came back because they had more public investment. A police station went into the mall, a hospital like a public health clinic went into the mall, and all these other public entities integrated into the mall. And now you had these other businesses that could pay that lower rent and build around this. Piccadilly, a soul food restaurant, and other things. And I looked at that as an urban planner, and I'm like, wow, that's what's making some of these projects work. So when I look at the Sherman Phoenix, they don't really have the solid, strong anchor. When I look at some other projects that won't be named here in Madison, they don't have the strong long-term anchors. But what is going to be the secret sauce here is that we're going to have those long-term anchors to help keep the rents low for a long time. And then the coolness of these businesses that's coming together in this space is just really going to make it a phenomenal place for business. And Jason, I lost my train of thought about what your question was. I hope I answered it.
You answered it perfectly. I was going to the amazing power I think we can have, but if the two cities, Milwaukee and Madison, work on projects like this together, there's great things happening in Milwaukee, there's great things happening in Madison, and sharing those ideas and that exchange, I think, is really important for both of our, the two large metropolitan areas in the city to grow.
So Jason,
you answered it well.
Yeah. So let me just respond again. So, a lot of people don't know is that I was on the Menominee Valley Partners Board for 8 years. And when we first did I started working in Menominee Valley, it was like desolate, and it was before Potawatomi got down there. But I was actually at the Department of Transportation. And so when we did the Marquette Interchange project, I designated Canal Street as a mitigation route to run a road from Miller Park to the downtown. And so we had to build bridges and connectivity to really open up the possibility for true economic development. When we ran that roadway through there and removed the train tracks over, that land became developable, and look at it now. And so I see the same type of potential that we saw in the Menominee Valley in Milwaukee, and with all of the development, Palermo's Pizza and all this other stuff going on there. I see the same thing happening in South Madison. And I'm not saying that I'm some great visionary or anything like that, but I've been around enough development projects that, I know that if we do this the right way with business and community support, we can transform South Madison.
Well, a huge nod to your work in the Menominee Valley. As a former longtime employee in the Menominee Valley, early days with the Iron Horse Hotel, you really did something very special. And if folks have not been to that region, it really is a bustling area. And so thanks to Dr. Anthony here. And we'd love to see the same things happen on Park Street here. Got a few more minutes for more questions. Anybody else? Ann Morrison, our esteemed chair.
Thank you. Hey, Ruben, I know that the city is working on a number of plans in South Madison for 3 or 4 different nodes of development that they see in the future. What has been the Urban League's involvement in that planning? And are you excited about the way that it's going and about the participation that you've had to date?
Yeah, I got to give the city kudos because the mayor and Matt Wagner and Dan Rouse and all those folks, they've been there right there with us and running as fast as we're running. Because before we started the project, I constantly said at those planning meetings, I'm like, I'm a planner, and I can tell you, planning can't run as fast as development. If you're thinking that you're going to need all this time to develop, and you're not tied to reality, because I'm like, those developers, and it's not a bad thing, those developers are looking and grabbing land and building and putting T-wall and all these other, developers, they're putting their projects in there. And so, we can have a planned development, or we could just have like the Wild Wild West, where people can just grab a condo spot and start building things out and change how this area is developing, or we can integrate with some of the things and some of the vision that's happening there. And the city decided to tie into what we called, I can't think of we had done a big outreach study called the Agenda South. And the city started participating in the Agenda South, and many discussions that really allowed us to integrate, our work, very closely with what the city's doing. So they've been one of our strongest partners. I see and talk to the city, and their plan is probably more than I ever, thought I would do. But they are really been great partners.
Follow-up question on that as well is, what's the connection you see between some of the other work in South Madison, particularly the Alliant Energy Center campus, what's happening in Olin Park, and sort of this new stretch and that sort of arc of space, and how does that all work together? Do you see that in your vision?
Yeah, I do. I think that when we think of South Madison, I was talking to the new executive director of Destination Madison. I said, this has to be a part of your destination selling. And we have to sell like the connection between South Madison, as the southernmost entry point into the state. And we have to make that connection with the Alliant redevelopment. I'm actually on the Alliant redevelopment team helping with that project as well. But also, as we talk about making Madison a more welcoming place, we've got to look at the lakefront development, as a part of that, too, and saying that this is a contiguous, space, because they're neighbors, they border each other, and we have to build that. We have to sell South Madison like New York sells Chinatown, or how proud LA and California are of some of their ethnic communities. People may want to come and see those places, but we got to have voices and we have to listen. So, for example, if I tell people, there's a whole economy, a fishing economy of shoremen fishers, who come here every week and they spend money. But they fish in dangerous places. They fish on the railroad tracks. They fish in other places. I'm like, why are we accommodating this tourism to make it more easier, to accommodate these folks? And it's people in the city that from the south side that go and fish and all over the place. But we have to figure out, we have to look at the community assets, and sell these things as a package. And South Madison, the Alliance Center, the John Nolan, lakefront, all of that could be sold, as a destination site, linked together as a strong South Madison.
I could not agree with you more. All those projects are happening at once, right? You've got a redevelopment of John Nolan. You have the purchase of the medical center building in Olin Park. You have the Alliant Energy Center work, which we should give a nod to Pam Christensen and the team who is the chair right now of the work at the Alliant Energy Center. So thank you to Pam. Working with Dr. Anthony and all the work that you guys are doing, and Dr. G and everyone that is sort of bringing that into one space and seeing it as one entry point. I think is really powerful. So I'm glad you had a great conversation with Allie. You've got time for one more question. Anyone? One more question? Dan O'Callahan, I know you have a question. I know you have. Perfect. I got a great comment here. I grew up in South Madison, lived on Badger Road. You discussed how creating jobs with the proximity to the hub will always help the vibrancy of South Madison. What other impacts on the surrounding, what will there be other impacts on the surrounding neighborhood?
Yeah, I think it's going to cause like a multiplier effect. Already, again, we see how people value the houses in South Madison. More people want to be in South Madison, and that's a good thing, and it's a bad thing. It's a good thing that people see it as a street space. And they want to be there because it's close to the downtown area, but it's a bad thing because it's gentrifying, where it's pricing people out, of the limited available housing space in Madison. But I think that in the next 5 years, South Madison will look like Capitol East, and so you'll see a lot of newness and change in that community. But what I'm afraid of is that it's going to change to where people can't afford to be in that community. So I grew up in New York, and I go home and I try to go to my old neighborhood. And I spent time in Harlem, a lot of time, because I had family members who lived in Harlem. A couple of years ago, I went to Harlem, and I go to my cousins pick me up, and they say, "Want to take you to the old neighborhood." They took me to the old neighborhood. We went to the community center. It's a Boys and Girls Club now, and it used to be called the Melbank Community Center. And I turn the corner, and I was like, I can't believe it. It's all condos, and I remember there were brownstones there, and we used to sit on that porch on the stoop, and we used to watch the rats go into the garbage cans and stuff like that. And then we played basketball across in the schoolyard there. And it's just a transformed community, but no Black people, there now. And I'm like, some of the neighbors, I couldn't find like one person who I knew from the days of old. And as I was happy or ambivalent about, how the neighborhood had changed, for the economic better in terms of equity, I was hurt because I'm like, I just felt like it was something lost. And that was many parts of Harlem where we grew up, we saw that. We can't let that happen in South Madison. We have to make this a project where it is that place. Madison has a 3% vacancy rate, so there's not a whole lot of space, for people anyway. And if you're Black or brown and you're coming into this place and you're trying to find your way, South Madison used to be a place where you could. It has to continue to be that. We have to make sure that we continue to have affordability, and we have to celebrate, not just talk about it, but we have to celebrate diversity. What ties South Madison to the rest of the community is that it's a natural, equity space that you can connect. If you want to do things right and stop talking about equity and doing it, work with South Madison, make the connections, and make sure that it stays an affordable place. If that happens, that will be a benefit, for the long haul for South Madison and the greater Madison community as a whole.
Dr. Anthony, thank you so much for your incredible leadership in our entire community in South Madison, in downtown. You are an inspirational leader. Thank you for your continued work. Let's all support the Black Business Hub and the work of the Urban League however we can. We've got countless requests. My email box is blowing up about getting the presentation. Anything we can do to help, let us know. We'll get this word out. We'll help with the council work, whatever it is needed. Please let us know. But Dr. Anthony, from all of us at DMI, thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you all for being here today. We really appreciate it. And any final last word?
No, I guess just a reminder that the next meeting that is economic development related is next Thursday morning, as Jason mentioned, and it's listed on the agenda. But thank you, Dr. Anthony. We're really super excited about this project, and glad that you're taking the bet on your community, and we are behind you all the way in this.
Yeah. Hey, can I just make two just announcements, shameless plugs?
Absolutely.
Love shameless plugs.
On May 25th, we're going to have a COVID clinic at the Urban League. And so if you know people who haven't gotten their shots, please have them stop at the clinic. And then on June 24th, we're going to have our Unity picnic. All of you are invited. We're going to bring in, the same company who smokes up the barbecue each year, Darren Price. And hopefully he'll be one of the businesses that might locate in our site. But come out, drive through. You don't have to get up your car, just drive through and get, barbecue. It'll kick off at 11 o'clock on July 24th. So thank you for your support. I love the partnership that we have with DMI.
Awesome. We are so excited. We will send that information out along with the presentation just here in a few minutes. Dr. Anthony, thank you again. And thank you all for joining us today. We will see you next week for the What's Up Downtown Breakfast to talk about the economic impact of downtown. Hope you all have a great rest of the day. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you very much.